2018 MINI Hatchback Review. The good points of MINI Hatchback. Great fun they are driving. Quality interior. Efficient, punchy engines. Lots of character. The bad points of MINI Hatchback. Expensive to acquire. Expensive options. Cramped rear seats. Firm ride on some models. Since it absolutely was launched in 2001, BMW's interpretation on the original Mini is an overwhelmingly successful car, blending retro looks with upmarket appeal along with a fun image. It's all generated creating the mini hatch you can get today. The latest model is included with even more premium features because of various parts nicked from BMW. Nonetheless, it has retained its feeling of character to take on premium rivals just like the Audi A1, Alfa Romeo Me2, DS3 and equally quirky Fiat 500, but additionally regular super minis just like the VW Polo, Seat Visa and Mazda 2. Larger but nonetheless mini. Bigger at landed divorce attorney's external direction compared to the car it replaced. The three-door hatch has spawned lots of models, including a practical five-door version plus the mini convertible. At 3,821 mm long, it's 98 mm longer. The Cooper S is 3,850 mm long, 44 mm wider and 7 mm taller versus the old car. Overall interior space is a lot more generous than before, but don't go thinking you'll be fitting tall adults within the back unless the youngsters are driving. Despite the improved size, it's still recognizably mini, having a familiar contour around the grille, headlights, floating roof and rear lights, although those less complicated, wider than previous incarnations. In fact, there's no chance you'll mistake it for other things, because the 2018 revisions meant to the car, such as a set of Union Jack-style rear LED lights. If anything, it's sportier in profile, the roofline tapers more aggressively on the rear, but altogether it appears fresh and modern. BMW-derived technology. Inside, Mini has built an interior that's interesting to see, with plenty of design cues that hark returning to the original car, and also housing a lot of modern technology that you'd be prepared to see in much wider, higher-priced cars due to its parent company BMW. The central instrument binnacle wheel no longer contains the speedometer, but alternatively the infotainment system's details, with all the speedo located behind the tire next towards the rev counter. Various screen sizes are offered depending around the spec on the car, owning a more fun-looking version of BMW's slick iDrive infotainment system. The central display is enclosed by an LED ring, which illuminates differently based on your preferences. It can become a fuel gauge, it changes for the way close you happen to be to something when parking, or you can allow it do its thing and scroll from a variety of vivid colors. 5-door version available. For once, a 5-door 4 doors as well as a hatchback tailgate version with the mini hatch may be made available. Previously it was 3-door only. You get precisely the same choice of engines and equipment grades whether you choose a 3 or 5-door car, giving buyers much more choice when they need a drop more practicality. Don't go thinking it's a family wagon. It's still smaller inside than super mini rivals such because Volkswagen Polo, along with the boot, is smaller as opposed to runners of its competitors, too. Still, when you only need the spine seats for occasional use, it can make a large amount of sense to be a slightly more usable version than the regular hatch. Efficient, turbocharged engines. 3 tiers of minis can be purchased. 1. Cooper and Cooper S, available using a range of turbocharged petrol and diesel engines, the second identified that has a D suffix. The entry-level petrol Mini 1 is powered with a 1.5-liter three-cylinder engine. It once was a 1.2 with 102 horsepower. Move on. The Cooper and Cooper D versions, which Mini says take into account the majority of sales, and also the three-cylinder motors may also be of 1.5-liter capacity. The Cooper produces 136 horsepower, the Cooper D 116 horsepower. Topping Kids is the four-cylinder, 2.0-liter petrol Cooper S, offering significantly greater performance with 192 horsepower, giving a sprint to 62 miles per hour duration of 6.8 seconds. There's and a Mini Cooper S Works 210 which, since have guessed, ups capacity to 210 horsepower. An automatic transmission is obtainable, 7-speed dual clutch on some and much more traditional 8-speed auto on others, and all of Mini hatches come which has a 6-speed manual transmission as standard. Mini John Cooper Works. Taking a normal Mini Cooper S stride further would be the Mini John Cooper Works JCW. It pushes out 231 horsepower which is capable of sprinting from 0.62 miles per hour in only 6.3 seconds, and is also differentiated using their company Mini models with several red exterior accents and model-specific trimmings inside to the seats and decorative elements. Facelift for 2018. January 2018 saw the arrival of any subtle facelift for your Mini. The engine range was tweaked together with the one's 1.2-liter dropped in favor of an larger 1.5-liter turbo producing 103 horsepower. A new 7-speed DCT dual-clutch transmission replaced the previous 8-speed unit in most engines, too. Although the shape and type remained unchanged, it received changes on the interior, along with revised back and front lights. All cars came designed with LED headlights as standard together with the option to intensify to dazzle-free matrix LED ones. The rear lights were updated to some twee Union Jack design, which are designed to divide opinions. Other highlights in the 2018 Minis range from the year's customized scheme, that enables the owner to purchase personalized 3D-printed inserts with the dashboard and door sills, together with unique graphics for the vehicle's puddle lights. Apple CarPlay as well as a concierge service were added as options towards the infotainment system. The verdict. The Mini hatch's character, with the instantly recognizable look and shape. It's also great fun dare driving, includes a tech-heavy, quality interior and incorporates a strong variety of engines, so all kinds of buyer is catered for. The availability of an 5-door model boosts practicality somewhat, although it's still a dinky super mini. Mini hatch review. Wide selection of engines. Choice of petrol and diesel. All turbocharged. Buyers are spoiled for choice in deciding on a Mini. Power is provided by the selection of turbocharged petrol and diesel engines, inside an easy-to-understand lineup. Petrol engine range. Choose entry-level Mini 1 and power comes from 5.0-liter three-cylinder engine with 102 horsepower and 190 Nm of torque which is available from 1,350 revolutions per minute. It's a sprightly performer, topping 121 miles per hour and reaching 62 miles per hour in 10.1 seconds. Efficiency isn't compromised though, using a claimed average fuel utilization of 57.6 miles per gallon and CO2 emissions of 111 gkm. Opt to the Cooper, having its 136 horsepower 1.5-liter three-cylinder motor and you'll locate a capable, sporty performer. With 220 Nm of torque from just 1,250 revolutions per minute, it'll sprint from 0.62 miles per hour within 7.9 seconds before heading on to a top-notch speed of 130 miles per hour. It's only slightly less efficient as opposed to one, with claims of 56.5 miles per gallon and CO2 emissions of 114 gkm. Topping the petrol range will be the 4-cylinder, 2.0-liter Cooper S, packing 192 horsepower and 280 Nm at 1,250 revolutions per minute into a small car is obviously going to provide rapid results, accelerating from 0.62 miles per hour in 6.8 seconds before achieving a highly regarded speed of 146 miles per hour confirms this, and yes, it feels eager on the streets too. Positively, efficiency doesn't suffer chronically from the process, MINI claiming the Cooper S will achieve 47.1 miles per gallon with emissions of 138 gkm. Stepping up to your Cooper S works 210 bumps power as much as 210 horsepower, and torque is rated at 300 Nm. The 0.62 miles per hour time falls to 6.3 seconds also. Diesel derivatives. The MINI diesel lineup only incorporates one model now, previously comprised of 3 before the auto's facelift. The 1.5-liter Cooper D is usually a refined and flexible power plant delivering 116 horsepower and 270 Nm of torque at 1,750 revolutions per minute, meaning it'll complete the 0.62 miles per hour test in 9.2 seconds that has a top speed of 127 miles per hour. Despite this down-to-earth pace, MINI claims that Cooper D will still achieve 80.7 miles per gallon with CO2 emissions of just 102 gkm. All MINIs are fitted as standard using a 6-speed manual gearbox, with cars get an automatic throttle blipping work as standard. MINI DCT dual clutch gearbox. A 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission is suggested on the Cooper S and Cooper D. A sports automatic version of this is accessible on the Cooper S, which adds paddle shifters on the tire. Pick a Cooper SD having an automatic gearbox and it also be an 8-speed transmission, not much of a dual clutch such as the other models, however a sports version is elective to add paddles, too. We tested it paired with all the 1.5-liter Cooper D engine, plus it feels a slick and responsive transmission. It moves up over the gears very smoothly indeed, with hardly any jerkiness being sent through the automobile like you'd sometimes example of one on the VW Group's DSG units. Plant your foot and yes, it can take some while to reply, although that may be down to your way the Cooper D responds, shifting down quite slowly but very smoothly. This pairing isn't someone to be rushed, but in the event you're from a relaxed auto, it's good indeed. Manual control is usually taken through new gear levers, just like the one you'll find using a BMW, where it stays from the same central position, nudging it returning to change up and nudging it forwards to vary down. Again, it's not the fastest to react, but gear changes can be extremely smooth. It never feels jerky or flustered, helping to make for a progressive driving experience. There were no leader-mounted paddles on the auto we tested. They're saved for that sports automatic version, which may have made it a involving car on twistier parts of road. But most people buying an automated you should be letting the automobile do a unique thing, so there's little to complain about here. Driving modes are selected using a toggle within the center console close to the engine starter button instead of with a ring round the transmission. These flick between Sport, Mid and Eco. The gearbox responds faster in Sport mode, perhaps you might expect, although not dramatically so. It holds on to gears slightly longer when you want to make faster progress, even so the gearbox itself remains slick. MINI John Cooper works. Topping everything off could be the John Cooper Works JCW. It features the identical 2.0-liter turbo because regular Cooper S, nonetheless it's tuned to create 231 horsepower, meaning its 0.62 miles per hour falls in order to 6.3 seconds, making for any real little pocket rocket. Top speed is 153 miles per hour, engines not available. The entry-level Mini 1 had been powered by the 1.2-liter three-cylinder engine with 102 horsepower and 180 Nm of torque made available from 1,400 revolutions per minute. It's a sprightly performer, topping 121 miles per hour and reaching 62 miles per hour in 9.9 seconds. Efficiency isn't compromised though. That has a claimed average fuel use of 61.4 miles per gallon and CO2 emissions of 108 gkm. The 1D doesn't show on new price lists, and you can get a pre-facelift example. It includes 95 horsepower but a good 220 Nm of torque from 1,750 revolutions per minute. The 1.2-liter 1D will be the slowest most efficient member from the Mini hatch range. Although an 11.2-second 0.62 miles per hour time sounds just a little pedestrian, it's very likely to suit Mini as well as its 118 miles per hour top speed is actually academic anyway. What impresses more may be the 1D's claim of 83.1 miles per gallon and CO2 emissions of 99 gkm. And on the top on the range was once the Cooper ST, a 2.0-liter turbocharged diesel producing 170 horsepower and 360 Nm of torque. It's almost as quick because the petrol Cooper S, sprinting from 0.62 miles per hour in 7.2 seconds, all of which will continue on to arrive at 141 miles per hour, still great fun to operate a vehicle. Manages for being comfortable, too. Steering is sharp and responsive. A significant selling feature for the automobile is how well the Mini hatch handles as compared to both the competition and also the model it replaced. Despite being fun-driven automobile, there's no escaping the simple fact it's also mature with greater evidence comfort and refinement than previous iterations. It's pretty good, just different. More grown-up feel, but nonetheless fun. Part on the reason will be the Mini's expanded size. As well to be a 28 mm stretch within the wheelbase, the tracks the width relating to the wheels on either side with the car were also increased by 42 mm at the front end and 34 mm at the trunk. Consequently it feels stable, especially on motorway jaunts. The suspension setup promotes both agility and responsiveness. It's nimble and accurate, yet incredibly refined. The ride comfort, especially on smaller wheels, is compliant, while you're on larger rims as much as 18 inches it's noticeably firmer without feeling as it crashes over every bump and undulation. Drive the Cooper S. The one's sensations are amplified further, it's noticeably firmer as opposed to mid-spec Cooper yet feels like a more substantial, better engineered sports hatchback rather than light and chuckable Mini of old. Some may lament the steering though. It's sharp and accurate, and once switching over traction control, the Mini remains very precise in their cornering, gripping with impressive tenacity. But although steering weights up progressively, it's quite a bit less communicative as enthusiastic drivers may answer to. These situations are relative. Needless to say, the Mini hatch's steering is impressively engineered. Also it puts a number of other sporty hatchbacks to shame, but it really's factual that others present you with a greater degree of feel. Driving modes. With a twinge of self-deprecating humor, the optional adjustable driving modes make reference to your Mini's fabled go-kart-like agility. 3 modes are offered: green, which promotes fuel efficiency and encourages early upchanges. Mid that is your everyday selection and Sport 4 and quoting the display itself maximum go-kart feel. There's an apparent change involving the settings too, Sport providing decidedly more fun compared to the other settings. Quirky look to your interior. Strong building throughout. Excellent, low driving position. At first glance the Mini's interior looks fairly just like previous models, but look closer and prod and poke the type of material and you'll appreciate the amount it's advanced throughout the years. Not only what is the high level of fit and finished with nice materials, the linings ergonomically sound too. Window switches have moved in the lower console toggles up on the doors themselves, as an example. That produces a huge difference whenever you quickly need to adjust something. The toggles haven't disappeared though, but still house the switches for your traction control system, automatic stop-start and delightfully retro starter button, finished in a very deep red hue that pulses with light once you get into the automobile. What's missing could be the central speedometer. Purists might lament its demise, but let's not forget an original Mini started which consists of central speedometer phased out in 1969. Now, it sits in a bit pod behind the leader, and yes, it's less difficult to watch. It's flanked using a semicircular rev counter about the left plus a fuel gauge for the right. There remains to be a circular display within the center on the dash for your infotainment watch hounds, framed with a multicolored LED ring. The display itself ranges from your 4-line digital display in the basic form, all the way around an 8.8-inch full-color LCD screen with SatNav. It's controlled by two different versions of Mini's interpretation of BMW's iDrive rotary controller. It's intuitive make use of, but feels low sit down behind the apparatus lever. That LED frame glows different colors according to various functions or selected programs too. For example, where parking sensors are fitted, the ring changes from green to amber to red determined by your proximity for an obstacle. Alter the temperature in the climate control, plus the ring changes from blue to red based on whether it's getting cooler or warmer. Or in the event you prefer, it may scroll through various colors along together with the rest with the car's ambient lights. Firm, yet compliant ride quality. Seats are happy and supportive. Great on short or longer journeys. It may appear surprising for just a small car that has a sporty focus, however the Mini is truly a remarkably comfortable car they are driving and be in. Taking advantage in the expanded exterior dimensions, the inside is larger than before too, but only those within the front will notice any real difference. The seats are larger, lower set and much more comfortable, including the Cooper S's sports items feel supportive after having a long journey. The seats also give a great choice of adjustment. Slide and tilt effortlessly to allow better access to your back, and when you're happy to spend extra, numerous Mini customers do, they may be heated and trimmed in leather too. Climb into the back with a 3-door model and you'll start to see the previous Mini's weakness has barely been addressed. It's really only comfortable for kids and adults who happen being contortionists. That's partly due to rear headroom being marginally reduced because of the tapering roofline. There's more space within the 5-door though, due to its longer wheelbase. In the 3-door model, a corner seat is shaped for two main only, which has a raised bolster from the middle from the seat base with no middle seatbelt. Nevertheless, the 5-door is technically a 5-seater, if you're slightly cramped one. Not only will be the Mini quiet inside, the lighter and revised suspension actually helps it be a comfortable companion on longer commutes too. Forget the bounciness of previous Minis, the hatch feels planted and compliant once you need it to get. Mood lighting can be a feature carried over through the previous model and is particularly complemented with the multicolored LED ring round the central instrument display. Its color varies determined by amount of functions, but it really can pulsate in relation towards the beat and the music being played. As an example, it matches track of ambient lighting round the rest with the car, illuminating the doorway bins, door handles and front part with the cabin. With an evident increase in building, overall refinement is impressive, making the Mini an enjoyable place in which traveling. With a raft of driving aids, the worries of driving is usually minimized. Just tick the appropriate option boxes to specify yours with adaptive cruise control and an automated parallel parking system. Trim structure isn't too tricky to know. A great deal of equipment also comes in packs or extras. Make sure there's more you're getting. 3 basic numbers of MINIs are offered: 1, Cooper and Cooper S, with diesel versions, however these are more in regards to the engines as opposed to kit. A lot in the gadgets and toys available come together with whichever packs you end up picking for your Mini, but here's what each model incorporates. Standard Mini hatch equipment. Opt for that Mini one plus your hatch includes 15-inch steel wheels, keyless ignition, fog lights, trip computer, electric windows and door mirrors, aircon, 6.5-inch infotainment screen with DAB radio, Bluetooth phone connectivity, USB and aux slots, LED lights front and back. A standard Cooper doesn't actually have much more equipment, nonetheless it does have a rather different look with body-colored door mirrors, different grille design with chrome slats, 15-inch alloy wheels. Range-topping Cooper S advantages from additional chromework to your exterior, more aggressive grilles filled which has a black mesh design, a bonnet scoop, centrally mounted twin exhaust pipes, sports front seats and also a 3-spoke sports leader. Optional Mini hatch accessories. Personalization may be a Mini hallmark for the long time and also the new hatch range isn't any exception. White and black roofs are just the start, which has a plethora of body graphics and roof decals to generate your Mini your own about the outside. The initial thing you should do if choosing a new Mini would be to spec the chili pack. It's not cheap, but adds a sizable report on equipment to the vehicle, including 17-inch alloy wheels on Cooper and Cooper S, multifunction sports tire, sports seats with height adjustment for passenger in addition to driver, extra storage through the entire cabin, Mini driving modes, automatic lights and wipers, dual zone climate control, ambient interior lighting, upgraded seat upholstery. There's also the Pepper Pack, which is included with a smaller variety of these items for no more. Nevertheless, it's worth going with the chili the way it's considerably more desirable. A John Cooper Works chili pack is usually available, including all from the above and adds a JCW body kit to regular models. Another tempting option will probably be the Mini Navigation Plus pack, which comes packed by having an upgraded sat-nav system with online services, enhanced Bluetooth and central armrest inside front, Apple CarPlay and wireless phone charging. There's a driving assistant pack which bundles together a raft of safety systems, including high beam assist, rear end collision warning and traffic sign recognition. If you favor, you are able to dive in the options list and specify things individually as opposed to as part of any pack. Highlights include leather upholstery, a panoramic sunroof, keyless entry, a self-parking system, seat heating and adaptive cruise control, among much more. 4 stars for Mini hatch. Extra safety kit available. Good for any small car. When tested by Euro NCAP, The Mini was awarded 4 stars, just missing out about the full 5. 3 ISOFIX child seat mounting points are from the Mini, 2 around the back seat and 1 around the front passenger seat, the second of which automatically disconnects the airbag. 6 airbags, including front, side and curtain, complement the high-strength passenger safety cell, with deformable crumple zones front and back. There's no escaping the Mini hatch's new longer far better nose, something necessitated by pedestrian safety regulations. LED taillights offer improved visibility, while full LED headlights and front fog lights are elective too. Naturally, ABS brakes are standard, that are supplemented by electronic brake force distribution to improve stopping power in emergency situations. Traction control is standard along with the optional adaptive cruise control that has a collision mitigation function that may attempt to stop your Mini being involved using a frontal collision from the first place. No escaping the Mini's compact dimensions. Good space at the start, less so within the rear. 5-door model adds somewhat accessibility. If you're considering purchasing a car just like the Mini because of the carrying capacity, then you've misunderstood the vehicle's purpose, and even its name. Naturally, one of the most practical choice will be the 5-door model, which joined the range to your end of 2014. It's a 5-seater. The 3-door Mini will sit 4 people only and may carry more luggage, too. The 3-door's boot measures only 211 liters using the seats up and 731 with these folded down, even though the 5-door model's extra overall length enables 278 liters seats up and 941 seats down. The back doors are short, helping to make getting in and out quite work, but once you're in, legroom will be as good since many small cars and headroom is okay for all. Nevertheless, the tallest of passengers. Those stubby rear doors may make accessing child seats tricky, though, but at the least it's easier than inside a 3-door version. Although you are able to fit 3 people across the back seat bench, it's a strict squeeze. 3-door Mini hatch has limited practicality. The 3-door is often a small car, which is really designed being a car for singletons and couples, as an alternative to as an out-and-out small family car. While the first Mini's mantra may have been to increase interior space to the smallest physical dimension, it isn't true in the latest car. However, you cannot assume all bad news, as whilst the Mini hatch's power to carry 4 adults in comfort remains doubtful, the excess space liberated inside is good for the auto's flexibility. Even though the back seat is simply shaped for 2 inside the 3-door version, it now splits 60 hours 40 minutes as opposed to 50 hours 50 minutes. In everyday terms, which means it's now possible make use of the Mini to be a 3-seater and carry wider items than before through on the boot area, such like a pushchair. If you spec the optional movable boot floor, it may be set at 2 different heights or hinged forwards to relax against the back from the rear seats. In the 3-door, that makes for just a deep, thank the lack of the spare wheel but nevertheless relatively short boot. The Mini isn't a major car by any stretch. It's a super mini, all of which will easily fit into most parking spaces and is also great for zipping out and about. The upright windscreen takes a bit getting used to, mainly because it feels quite miles away at first, but it's really simple to judge the edges in the car due to the vehicle's upright shape. Overall, though, it's also very easy to maneuver into tight spaces on account of those compact dimensions. The Mini's boot isn't big, especially within the 3-door. However, it's all too easy to get to. Also, it's surprisingly deep, which assists fit bulky belongings in. Compare it towards the Vauxhall Adams boot, one example is, and that is very narrow and slim. If you go to get a 5-door Mini, next the boot size increases to 278 liters, and that is much more in step with regular super minis, although around the small side weighed against newer rivals.